You're listening to the Common Descent Podcast.
Hello, Will.
Hello, David.
Hello, Sabrina.
Hi, David. Hi, Will.
Hello.
Hello, Garret.
Hi, guys.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Common Descent, a podcast where we talk about paleontology and evolution and Earth history, and sometimes movies and stuff. This is Silver Screen Science, which is our special series that we do every now and then, talking about the science in movies. In these episodes, we like to tackle the big subject of how our scientific concepts and themes being incorporated into film. This episode, we will be talking about Jurassic World Rebirth, continuing our trend of doing a Silver Screen Science episode about every Jurassic movie that comes out because it's in the contract as paleontology science communicators. This episode, we are very excited to be joined by our first ever Silver Screen Science guests, Sabrina and Garret from I Know Dino. Welcome, guys. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
We are very excited to talk about a Jurassic World movie with you two because you two are awesome and fun to talk to and hang out with, but also we feel like there's going to be a lot of really interesting perspective. I think that you two are similar enough to me and Will that we won't disagree with you about anything. So instead, it'll just be like a fun little echo chamber.
Cue the big fight.
Yeah,
later.
I'm excited if we can do a huge argument now.
Yeah, this is going to be it.
I'll put the snippet from our screaming match right here.
This is the first and last time that I Know Dino was on Silver Screen Science. This episode, Silver Screen Science, is all about our scientific analysis of the film, not just what it got right or wrong, but the broad question of how science is portrayed on film in that intersection of science and pop culture. After every Silver Screen Science episode, Will and I also release a More Thoughts episode on Patreon where we do not talk about science and we just talk about how we personally felt about the film. After this episode, we will be doing a More Thoughts with Sabrina and Garret. So we will all get to chit-chat about our thoughts on the film. If you want to hear that, you can find it on Patreon, on either Patreon. You can support us at Common Descent or I Know Dino.
And or.
Preferably
Preferably
and. Yes, please do. Spread the wealth. We're going to get into discussing the movie, so before we go any further, this is a spoiler warning in case you are concerned about plot details being given away. We are going to talk about every aspect of this film. We are not going to hold back. So if you don't want to be spoiled, go no further. The movie in question is Jurassic World Rebirth, which is the 7th film in the Jurassic Park franchise, I'm pretty sure. The follow-up to the Jurassic Worlds came out this summer in 2025, directed by Gareth Edwards, starring such names as Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, Jonathan Bailey's glasses, and a variety of other actors. Will, briefly, what happens in this movie?
So this movie takes place a decent amount of time after the previous films. So dinosaurs have been released around the world, but they've started to die out in most areas and are relegated to the equator. And people have once again stopped caring about dinosaurs. So there is a concern for their continued existence, and our heroes aim to go into the no-fly zone that are these dinosaur islands and collect DNA from the 3 largest dinosaurs and use this for medical research, specifically cardiac, to prevent heart disease. And adventure and chaos ensues as everything goes wrong every step of the way as they try to do this mission, and dinosaurs cause much trouble for them.
They sure do. Well, as is tradition in these franchise discussions, let's start by talking about the animals themselves. Let's start by focusing on the actual dinosaurs. I'm gonna let you guys start. Sabrina and Garret, what did you think about the dinosaurs? Were there any you were particularly excited to see or really enjoyed the portrayal?
Oh, well, my favorite is Ankylosaurus, so I loved all the screen time that Ankylosaurus was in the movie, personally.
Just lived for that moment.
Those 2 seconds where they swerved around it. Yes, that was definitely the highlight for me.
It looked pretty cool.
It did.
I do love the idea. So like, yeah, if any dinosaur were to be wandering to the road, the last one I would want it to be is Ankylosaurus.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
Worse than hitting a deer.
Oh yeah.
Ankylosaurus would take forever to cross the road.
Somebody
Yes.
did an analysis on Ankylosaurus and said, like, if you crashed a car into it, its armor could just, like, absorb, and its mass would just, like, absorb it. Like, it wouldn't actually get injured. Your car would just be destroyed. And
Yep.
it would be fine. It would just
Get a-
walk away.
You get a shoulder spike through the windshield.
Yeah.
Well, it would be the opposite of what happens with deers, where you pass a deer on the side, you're like, oh, someone hit that deer. You would pass a wrecked car and go, oh, someone hit an ankylosaur.
Yeah.
I hope they're okay.
So this movie brings back a bunch of, some of them for brief appearances. Ankylosaurus has a brief appearance. Compsognathus, Dilophosaurus, Velociraptor has a very brief appearance in the
Yeah.
film. There are a lot of the brief appearances. I found myself enjoying the way that they made it feel like a living environment. Like I
Yes.
think the Compsognathus show up when when Jonathan Bailey falls out of the sky and like lands in the water, and there's just a bunch of compies by the side. There's a splash, they run away. And those little touches of environment I thought was a really cool way to show. The shame is that we don't get to see more Ankylosaurus, but the acknowledgement that like, yeah, they're just around. I think that was a pretty cool demonstration.
Yes, it doesn't have to be a fight scene each time.
Yeah.
Yes. I also liked how they seemed to update some of these dinosaurs. So, like the compies, I had a note that red bodies and blue legs, so giving them a little more color, which is something I don't think
Yeah.
we saw in previous movies, at least not much.
Yeah, the updated visuals and even like biologies was pretty enjoyable in a lot of moments in this one.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
none of the other Jurassic Park movies really did that. It was the 1993 science, became canon of Jurassic Park, so then they all had to be the same. Whereas in this movie, it seemed
Exactly.
like they were actually like, okay, we can update, which we kind of thought was going to happen. I know you guys did another episode on the sort of mid movie making of this movie, which no one really knew what it was going to be, but it was more of like an actual Cretaceous scene, sort of, except Giganotosaurus was in it.
Yep.
Oh wait, was that for Dominion? Maybe it was
That
for
was for
Dominion.
That was for
Dominion.
Dominion.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
was the prologue for Dominion.
And they did updated dinosaurs for that, but then when Dominion came out, it was like, no. Never mind.
Right.
Oh, no. Pyroraptor, right? With the feathers.
Oh yes,
Yes.
that's true.
Yeah.
That was cool.
They did, instead of updating pre-existing cast member dinosaurs, they added in a couple of Pyroraptor and was it Eoraptor? That was the little one that they had in the lab.
It was I think Moros was in the prologue. They
Yeah.
also
Oh,
gave
yeah.
us Therizinosaurus with the
Oh
feathers.
yeah, Therizinosaurus
Yeah.
too.
So
Yeah.
they added in a couple to be like, yes, that we now know they were fuzzy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
but we got like a
Well,
new Spinosaurus. Is that
I
what
was
you were
gonna,
gonna
yes,
say?
I was just gonna say this movie did give us a brand new Spinosaurus. Garrett, I know that you are a Spinosaurus fan and aficionado.
Oh yes.
Well, how did you feel about this Spinosaurus?
I was very excited. I didn't really read as much about this movie before we went, as Sabrina was staying on top of it so she could do the updates for our show. But when I saw little sails in the distance, that first little hint, I was like, oh, look, there's and they're swimming. And then I was like, wait a second, there's no land within sight. That is a bold choice.
Yep.
Yep.
They picked a
Yeah,
side.
Yeah, these were fully not just aquatic, but they made them marine
Yes.
Spinosaurs.
Yeah, I really enjoyed
This-
them. I thought it was fantastic. I didn't notice while we were watching it that their head is terrible, but because I guess their head, if you look at it, it looks like a small Mosasaurus head, basically. Like it doesn't look at all like a Spinosaurus head, except
Yeah.
for the proportions match the rest of the body. When you look at it, you're like, why, what? But other than that, I loved that, yeah, they took a stand. I loved that it had the more typically reconstructed sail with a sort of like M shape to it rather than the semicircle that we had in Jurassic Park 3. And I liked their behavior. They were very like crocodile, like come out of the water, like snap and like run back in, and like all of that I loved.
It was really, this is something that, of course, Spinosaurus is famous now for going back and forth in different interpretations. And I think that in terms of realism, right, this is probably more aquatic than Spinosaurus actually would have been based on where we're at with studies now. Yeah, that's true. Personally, I think that this is probably more aquatic than Spinosaurus would actually be.
Even if it's not like that, they may have been in the water this much, but like in the movie they were doing like crocodile tail jumps, which like no way a Spinosaurus's tail has the musculature of a crocodile to be able to thrust its torso out of the water. Things like that. Like it definitely was doing dolphin motions that they would not be able to do.
But even though it might not be accurate, I do like that sort of artistic aspect. It's got sort of that like Prehistoric Planet, where it was, we're going to pick this depiction and then go in 100% on it. And I think that that's cool, because then you get to imagine these ecological roles and these behaviors. And I think that that is a fun sort of speculative depiction that we don't often get from this franchise.
Yeah.
Yes. I just now had a thought that being able to do those kind of jumps and dolphin-like movements, I think they might have chosen to do that so that there could be that mistake in identity with the Mosasaurus, because I remember when I was watching this movie, I saw the spine and I thought, oh great, Spinosaurus, and then I got very confused because the characters are like, yeah, that was a Mosasaurus, and I was like, wait, what, am I really that off? And then it turns out the characters were wrong and it was Spinosaurus.
Yeah.
But they had them, I guess now I'm thinking about it, if you have a similar head shape, they're acting in a similar way.
And
yeah.
It was funny too, because they said, oh yeah, they're cooperating, which was a fun ecological thing, like you were saying, David. But the funny thing to me was, from my count, Mosasaurus got nothing and Spinosaurus ate everybody.
Thank you. Yeah, that was exactly my thought when they said, they're helping the Mosasaurus hunt. How? Like,
right.
They just both swam up to the boat. Like, the Spinosaurus didn't like chase the boat into deeper water where the Mosasaurus was waiting, which is what I would have set up if I was gonna be like, oh, we just got pack hunted. It was just they both showed up and were both there. And it's like, okay, but it sure does seem like it's just you're being hunted by two predators simultaneously, not no pack hunting.
Either that or the Spinosaurs are much smarter than the Mosasaurs. They're like, yeah, come on, we'll help you.
Yeah.
You knock the boat over for us, so then we'll help you get the guys.
I did like the Spinosaurus sleeping on the beach.
Yes.
Where they have that moment of like, oh yeah, these are semi-aquatic, and like that that was very satisfying of like, yeah, these aren't just ocean animals just because they can swim. It's like, yeah, they are coming in and out of the shore. That felt like a very satisfying little like that's what I picture Spinosaurus doing.
Yeah, it was cool.
I like the little glimpses of regular life in this film. Well, because this, one of the big themes of Silver Screen Science is Will and I talk about monsterification, taking an animal and making it act like a movie monster. And I think that a lot of the dinosaurs in this film act a lot like animals. Speaking of returning creatures that take to the water, there is a T-Rex scene in this film.
Yes.
And it starts with the T-Rex taking a nap, which I think is like, that's such a cool, I love art of big scary dinosaurs taking a nap. I think that is such an important reminder. Like, yeah. And then it goes for a swim, which I thought was a really fun addition to the Jurassic T-Rex depiction lore.
Yeah. Well, and when it started chasing them, it didn't do what would have usually happened in a bunch of the other movies. When it finally notices them and starts following them down the river, it doesn't just like roar and charge after them. It's just like, hey, what's this thing? Maybe I eat it?
Yeah, I saw someone online left a comment somewhere that was like, it's so dumb that the T-Rex becomes super slow when it's suddenly super slow when it's chasing the raft. And I thought that I interpreted it as it hasn't committed to chasing this raft yet. It's
Mhm.
Yeah,
doing
it
the
just
same thing.
ate.
It just
Yep.
ate,
Still
and
waking up.
Yeah.
it's still waking up, and it's similar to the Jeep scene in the original
Mhm.
Jurassic Park, where this is as much curiosity as it is hunger.
Yeah. Well, it's like when you see a bear trying to get into something, they're not just like, oh, it's just like, push on it, knock it around. I'm in no rush. I'm
Yeah.
in no danger. Like, and I'm the biggest thing here, so I'm just gonna let's see what this thing is. I
Yeah.
liked that.
And the casualness of it was really fun. And even when it was swimming
Yeah.
too, going right past them. And
Yeah, just
it
powers past them.
was good.
I like too how, and speaking of how they updated things a little bit, this one to me it looked like it almost had lips, or at least had something more lip-like
Yeah,
around it.
yeah,
True.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't just the teeth
It did
sticking
have an
out.
updated look.
Yeah, which is talk about bold changes.
Oh yeah.
Any sort of change to the T-Rex in the Jurassic Park
Mhm.
franchise is a bold choice.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
that scene was fun. I enjoyed that scene.
The don't wake up
Yeah.
the big scary monster is always a
Yeah.
fun part of and that gave the movie more of like a horror vibe too, which I always like too.
Well, and like when it does wake up, so like she undoes the raft, it hides the T-Rex for a second, and when the raft falls, the T-Rex is gone,
Yeah.
which in most other movies would mean, okay, we've got a jump scare coming up. Like
mhm.
the big scary thing that was in view is now not in view.
It's behind you.
Yes, it's right behind me, isn't it? And no, it just slowly comes out into the background and has a drink. And it was like there wasn't a jump scare.
Yeah.
It was just like, well, I woke up and now I'm thirsty, and
Yeah.
it was just very much animal behavior.
Yeah.
Animals don't wake up to be like, oh, now I'm gonna get them. Like,
Yeah. What woke me up? I'm gonna kill it.
yeah, exactly. It was just, whoa.
Well, and I think that it was also fun because it felt like a very realistic danger,
Mhm.
Yes.
right? That like
Mhm.
you're going to disturb this animal. If you disturb it, it might notice you. It might be surprised. It might be hungry, and that felt, it woke up, it got a drink, and then it turned and went, "Oh, there's someone here. What's this over here now? This is interesting." So this felt dangerous in the same way that like encountering a tiger would be dangerous.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I don't want to wake up the tiger because there's not a guarantee it's going to attack me, but if it decides it's interested in me, I am in trouble, right? I am
Yeah.
very likely to get hurt.
Well, it's like encountering a feral dog. Like, very likely
Mhm.
it's just going to walk by you. But if it does get interested, that could go bad very quickly. And I liked how they handled it.
That reminds me of Gary. You encountered some
Oh, a pack of
probably-
feral dogs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one time.
Yeah, that was in Taiwan where they have a lot of dogs.
Did you inflate a raft?
No
Yeah.
rafts, no rafts involved. But you had to get something out of the trunk of the car, and they were fighting amongst themselves.
Yeah, I woke
right
them up.
behind- yeah.
Very much the same sort of thing. Like I unlocked the
Yeah.
car, which woke up a pack of feral dogs, and I was like digging through a car with them fighting behind me. Like this is probably
no.
if this was a horror movie, you'd be like, why are you doing this? Very
Mhm,
very
mhm.
similar.
Ugh.
Speaking of animals acting in surprisingly realistic ways, this movie opens with an invasive apatosaurus.
Yes, I love that.
Oh, it does have a name, didn't it?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Bronto
Billy. Bronto Billy. Yeah,
Bronto
why?
Billy. Yep.
Why?
Well, I'll see Bronto Billy and raise you. Why did they call it a brachiosaur on the radio?
Yes.
Well,
Because
That's
they
the
don't know
key,
what they're
right?
talking about.
But that almost makes it more realistic to me because
Oh.
it's
Yeah.
almost like
Yeah.
well in like a retcon kind of way you could be like well nobody gets Brontosaurus right now, so why would they get Brontosaurus right in 7
Yeah.
years just because something like it exists in real life?
Good point.
The framing of that scene is that this is, the last few movies have been toying with this idea of invasive dinosaurs in the world. And this, once again, in classic movie monster fashion, it's so often, there's invasive dinosaurs, so everyone's going to die because they're going to eat everybody and all that. This was an apatosaurus that was blocking traffic.
Yeah.
which
Mhm.
is an extremely real life invasive kind of thing to do.
Yes. Well, it's like when elephants go, we're walking down the road. So what are you going to do about it?
Well, and it even got a name, which is
Mm-hmm.
often you'll see that in real life scenarios where it's like, someone's like, "Whoa, there's a bear in the town," and people are like, "Oh, Phil, yeah, he hangs around. He's our local bear."
Just stay inside for a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, I did like that it had graffiti on it. It felt very much like another thing that would happen.
Yeah, yeah. If you had
Yeah.
megafauna in New York,
Yes.
I was wondering what it was eating though in Manhattan, right? Like
Hmm.
it's
yeah,
not in
I
Central
did
Park.
have that same thought of they treat it like it's just wandered in, but it's like wandered in from where?
Right. It took the Manhattan Bridge.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's where have you been? Where are you when you're not in the way?
Yeah. What are you
Yeah.
eating?
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
eat like nonstop.
It has to be Central Park.
Yeah.
There's nowhere else. And
Yeah.
even then. Well, it lives in Central Park, right across the street from the Natural History Museum.
But it naps in the Lower East Side or whatever.
I do think I remember them mentioning that it broke out of somewhere, like its care area or something. I do
That
think
makes
they
sense.
mentioned it broke out of where it was, and that it's the last North American sauropod, but not a wild sauropod.
So maybe they're bringing it food.
Yeah, like I think it's at like it was supposed to be being cared for.
Right. Like at the Central Park Zoo or something.
Yeah, exactly. I can't remember. They said it in the radio thing of like Bronto Billy broke out of, and then they said the place, but it wasn't the place I recognized.
So you got all that graffiti in like an afternoon.
Right? Yeah. It's are you guys graffitiing? He doesn't care.
This movie also gave us 2 new dinosaurs for the franchise. So 2 dinosaur species that haven't shown up before. There were the titanosaurs, which are the sort of centerpiece sauropods in the middle of the film, and Aquilops, which is a small, it's a leptoceratopsid, right? It's a small
I think so.
cousin of ceratopsians, the horned dinosaurs. I spent the whole movie trying to figure out whose baby Aquilops was.
Yeah.
Until
Yeah.
late, like I went home and I looked it up and I was like, oh, it was Aquilops. That's cute.
Yeah, that was fun. And it does its little stands up, and it has its little, kind of front hand feet. That was very satisfying. That was neat.
That was. I will say though, Dolores, because they gave her a name.
Mm-hmm.
It's no Bumpy.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
do think
yep.
that might be why they had the Ankylosaurus little cameo, was because of how much Bumpy was a fan. You know, how many people love Bumpy from the Camp Cretaceous and all that.
Yeah.
I just looked it up. Aquilops is probably outside of Leptoceratopsidae. Just
Okay.
saying, but it's like
'Cause it's
in the
very
same
early.
ballpark. Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
just like all these other quote unquote horned dinosaurs that don't have horns, just to make it confusing.
Well,
Yeah.
because it's all about the beak.
Yeah,
True.
exactly. Yeah.
It is all about the beak.
It does have a good beak, that's for sure.
Got that beak. Well, and on that note, that was one thought I had during the movie, that like typically when we do these sort of silver screens, we're usually discussing monstrification of like, and then how's this dinosaur acted like a complete, movie serial killer. Aquilops, Dolores had the opposite, where they were dogified.
Yeah.
Yes. So mammal-like.
Very, very dogged behavior. Even like, the kid calling them over.
Mhm.
And the first thought I had when she was like, come on, and like getting close to this little ceratopsian, I was like, that thing could still take your finger off.
Yep.
It's got, that parrot beak would just go through your hand. That is not a safe. That's like people who go up to like squirrels and forget that they crack nuts with their teeth. Like that squirrel will send you to the hospital.
Yep.
And the entire time I was just like, I would not want that thing over my shoulder next to my ear.
Yeah.
It's just gonna take a nibble and take my lobe off.
I had the exact same first thought too about the beak. I was like, she's gonna lose a finger.
Yes. Yeah.
But also, wait, would a dinosaur follow a human around like that? Or I guess if it's really curious, maybe because it.
Well, and if you are providing it with sugary snacks, like I bet the sugar would, like most animals, would be like, yeah, no, keep giving me that.
That's
Yeah.
part of why I thought it might be a baby, because I was
Mhm.
like, oh, is this is like it's following food, it's imprinting or whatever. I did think that was, Will, you make a really good point that we don't often talk about the petification of
Mhm.
Yes.
dinosaurs in these movies. And so, yeah, Dolores is very, which again is kind of that Spinosaurus thing where like this is probably an inaccurate way to depict a dinosaur, but it's also a way we don't see very often.
Yeah.
And so it is an interesting take from an artistic standpoint of would some dinosaurs have been sort of puppy-like in their
Mhm.
behavior.
Well, and it was also funny to me because the first thing I thought of was like how every animal in a Disney movie is just a big dog in a different shape. You know, every horse is just a dog,
Yep.
and this was really the first time we'd seen that in a Jurassic film,
Yep.
where it's like this is very much not what wild animals act like, but is new to see a petified, a dogified dinosaur.
Yeah, I had the same thought too with in terms of recreating the same animal in a bunch of ways. I usually think of all the dinosaurs, especially the carnivores in Jurassic Park as like different size T-Rex because they all
Yes,
have like the
exactly.
wide head, they have like sort of the same behavior. Even the
Mhm.
raptors or whatever, the what is it? Carnotaurus has like a
Yep.
really wide head whereas a normal Carnotaurus would have a much narrower head. But in this one,
Mhm.
yeah, we saw a lot more differences. I do want to back you up, David, a little bit on the baby look of Dolores because I feel like they did give that Equilops some really juvenile looking character to make it
Yes.
cuter, right? They gave it
Mhm.
bigger
Yep.
eyes. The frill is bigger than it would have been on Equilops, so it looks like a baby other ceratopsian frill, and they gave it like sort of underdeveloped arms and legs. So it's just like
Mhm.
it doesn't really look like Equilops. It looks more like a baby other ceratopsian than it does like Equilops. I didn't recognize it as Equilops either.
I didn't either. I knew ahead of time from the list of dinosaurs which ones to look for, but it still took me a while to realize what that was.
Yeah.
Yep.
Plus,
Yep. Yep.
behavior-wise, just like a dog, right? Dogs are sort of like paedomorphic, or at
Mhm.
least
Mhm.
developmentally stunted in some way. Wolves, you get the same
Yes.
thing with Dolores, where she's like sort of looking for a mom, I guess.
Yeah,
I
they
don't know.
puppyified.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I did think one of the things that this movie, one of the things that I really loved about the original Jurassic Park is the way that it portrayed so many of its animals as wonderful, as
Yeah.
cute, or as impressive. And a lot of the following movies have really moved away from that and done more of just scary movie monster stuff. And this film, I liked that Dolores was cute and fun. The titanosaur scene, they come across this group of titanosaurs out in the on the plains, and then two of them are sort of courting each other, and I thought that it was really beautiful. It was
Yeah.
shot in a really, it was really sensual, and the characters are in awe, and I thought that was really cool in that sort of beautiful way that like the
Mhm.
Mhm.
first Brachiosaurus appearance in the original Jurassic Park. I really liked getting to see that side of the dinosaurs again.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
it felt kind of dreamlike, that whole
Yeah.
sequence.
Yeah.
But then I feel like Dr. Henry Loomis ruined it. Like, why they're having this moment? He knows what's happening. Why did he
Read
go
the
up to them?
room.
Yeah.
Yeah. He goes
Well,
up and
Now,
hugs him, puts himself like in harm's way too, where if it takes a step, it's gonna kill him. And
yeah,
yes.
he was in, that was a really, I did have that thought where I was like, man, you do not go and stand underneath a sauropod. That is a terrible
yeah.
place to be.
Well, it's just, oh man, these two African elephants seem to be, really having a moment. I'm just gonna go up to them. Like,
Hug one of them.
no, don't
Hey,
do that.
buddy. You're doing great, pal. Keep it up.
That was very much a petting the Stegosaurus in Lost World moment of,
Hmm.
come on, buddy, you're supposed to know not to do these things.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then he one ups it because he shoots it in the neck in the middle of it too, just for.
Yeah.
I do like the implication in the scene that the Titanosaur is just so big that it doesn't care.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Like that absolutely. I was wondering it, well, because I kept waiting for them to be like, and then here's the action scene, because they made some mention
Yeah.
of like oh, we don't have to worry about them, but the things that hunt them. And I was like, all right, so are we gonna show some like allosaurs like going after sauropods or something? And then nope, just a sweet scene. Oh, is the dark gonna cause a stampede? Nope. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I love when the dinosaurs in media get to just be sweet.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's such a great depiction of a side of animal life that you don't often see in media.
Yeah. We did still have all the herbivores are sweet and the carnivores are meanies, though.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we absolutely
Yes.
did.
Yep.
Which is
If they
another
reverse
classic
the
trope.
Spinosaurus and the Titanosaurus.
Yeah. Well, I
would-
would love a scene where they had like, well, because they did a little bit in Lost World with the stegosaurs of like, yeah, these are terrifying animals. I would love in one of they've featured a big sauropod in almost every Jurassic World movie, but I would love one where it's like, and it's just walking through a building because it's angry and just like kaijuing through a town because it's in rut or it got freaked out by something and is now just like smashing cars and stuff. Like that would be terrifying. It would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they've done it twice with T-Rex. They did it in the... I guess they did it twice just in the second movie, right? They had it like, I'm going to shove this bus off a cliff because you messed with me. And then it's like running around San Diego just smashing stuff up. But a T-Rex can't do anything compared to what a sauropod could do if it was angry.
Yeah. Like just have it swiping its tail through multiple telephone poles and stuff. And like that, it would be nice because of herbivores are big, powerful animals and should be feared, but also a different animal getting to wreck shop would be refreshing in these kinds of action movies.
Yeah, especially with the elephant comparison too, because I know in Africa there are situations where like a hunter or an elephant gets mad at like a village of people and just like destroys their whole, camp.
Yeah, exactly. Just comes in with that purpose.
Yeah. Well, elephants are also, elephants will wander into villages looking for food. And if an elephant smells like, oh, there's something tasty in this house, the house is not an obstacle to the elephant.
Yeah.
And like people will have houses fall on them because an elephant just wanted to get in there and get at whatever that food was. So it can be very innocuous. There doesn't have to be any malicious intent. Some of these animals are just so big that being themselves is dangerous to things around them.
Yeah.
So lots of fun dinosaurs in this film. I think that a variety of interesting depictions. There are also, as we have already started alluding to, a bunch of not dinosaurs in the film, including two of the biggest plot important dinosaurs are not dinosaurs.
Dinosaur with an asterisk.
Dinosaur with an asterisk. The main characters, the three creatures that they end up going after, one is the Titanosaurs, and the others are the Mosasaur and Quetzalcoatlus. So they each also get a scene to themselves.
The Mosasaur stood out to me this time because once again, it's giant. Like
it's
it
huge.
has been in previous ones. Slightly updated in its look. They gave it like a baleen whale belly. Like it's got those folds down the belly, which is one of those of like I felt like a thing of, oh, this makes it look whaley. like that it was an aesthetic choice, but I did have that moment of like, how much are you eating, buddy? Like that's to like need to expand your throat and belly out.
What? It's busy eating boats while the
swallowing them whole.
It gets the boat. Yeah, I didn't think of that as the cooperative aspect.
You get the people, I get the boat. Oh my gosh.
Let's start with the Mosasaur, because I think the Mosasaur scene for me had a similar like awe-inspiring where it's alongside the boat, and they did a great job demonstrating the scale, even though the scale is extremely unrealistic. It had that like blue whale feeling of being next to just this absolute titan of a creature.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that scene a lot. Obviously, with it being Steven Spielberg and you know, the connections to Jaws are obvious,
Mm-hmm.
and even the music sounded a little Jawsy. But
Yeah, it was.
I really like that, and I loved how it just like I don't know if it was even intentional that it knocks their sailboat over, but it seemed like you couldn't tell because it didn't really go after them quickly after that. So maybe it just like accidentally bumps over their boat.
Or it was like a territorial thing. Get out of here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I thought that was really fun.
Well, like, I think they mentioned that of like, why would it go after this big thing? And it's like, I mean, it might have just not liked that you were there. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and yeah, it's the just I'm gonna just do some light displaying, but that's way too much for what you can handle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Just
thought
a
that was
gentle
great.
nudge.
Mm-hmm.
Gentle. They had it kind of acting like a whale, right, with the flipping out of water. Although
Mm,
Yeah.
breaching.
mosasaurs, though, isn't there's that whole thing with the propelling with the tail? It could kind of,
I mean, it probably could,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
If it wanted
Yeah,
to, I
exactly.
suppose.
That was a fun bit of speculative where it's doing the humpback whale, jump and
Mhm.
spins that are so famous, and it was doing like move for move. That was the stunts it was pulling, and that's one of those fun ones of, like you were just saying, almost surely mosasaurs could achieve the velocity to do that. Whether they did, we don't know, but also, I mean, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they be doing some sort of jumping, splashing displays? Because lots of animals do that. Manta rays will do that, and there's tons of other animals, spinner dolphins and stuff. Like, there's tons of animals that jump and splash because that's a great way to make noise out on the ocean.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And so why wouldn't mosasaurs? That was pretty cool.
Plus, mosasaurs are closely related to snakes. Well, sort of closely. So
Mhm.
they got that going for them.
And they have to breathe air, so they got to get
Yes.
up there at some point. Yeah, it was
Mhm.
a little bit of like a cutification for the mosasaur, making it
Yeah.
whale-like instead
Mhm.
of,
Oh, true.
shark-like.
Yes. And when like all the people were excited when they saw it, and we didn't introduce it being scary until now you're being hunted by it and the Spinosaurs. But at first it's just hoops and hollers and cheers as
Yeah.
they're racing this animal and getting the dart in.
Yeah, there was kind of a fun moment too. I feel like where they were like, "Oh, we found it," and they're like, "Wait, or did it find us?"
Mhm.
Anyway,
Yes.
moving on.
Mhm. I do like that.
And then there was a Quetzalcoatlus scene, which
Mhm.
I think, and once again, drawing comparisons, Quetzalcoatlus, the giant pterosaur, was in the last movie,
Mhm.
and its entire scene was it attacking and destroying a plane, which we discussed it a bunch in our Jurassic Park Dominion uh, episode, where we talked about how much we didn't like the Quetzalcoatlus, but we loved the pilot.
Yes, yes.
Uh,
Yep. Yep.
this movie, the Quetzalcoatlus scene, focuses on the nest of the animal.
Yeah.
And in fact,
Yep.
it's great because Jonathan Bailey has a moment where he's like, no, let's avoid interacting with the full grown one and just go for the eggs.
Hmm.
That
Yes.
we can avoid trouble altogether if we just go get some out of the eggs. And then the parent shows up and defends its nest, which again is a very fairly realistic scene to imagine getting into conflict with a wild animal.
Yes.
Also, typical mammal go after the archosaur eggs when they're not looking. Feel like that's
Right.
probably going on a lot in the Mesozoic.
Listen,
That
it's
is
been
on
working
brand.
for us for 70 million years. All right. Why stop now?
Yeah. And what is it? I think there's 70 billion chickens on Earth right now, primarily for their egg
Yes,
production.
Yep. It's deeply satisfying to our DNA. I really liked the way they made Quetzalcoatlus a predator in this, because like last time it was like tearing into a plane, which is like, no, that thing's made out of metal and you are made out of balsa wood.
And you are not.
Yeah, like, so no. And so that was very much they tried to make it scary by making it just a full blown, dragon. It's just a movie monster. Here it was very much like, no, this is a predator whose head is longer than you are,
Hmm.
Mhm.
and as they show, could likely swallow a person-sized animal, and that's scary enough. This is
Yeah.
a stork the size of a giraffe, and you're on the menu. I liked that.
The funny thing with that too is Sabrina and I saw it separately because I did like a midnight showing. I wanted to see it, which was very poorly attended. I think they made
See, there were like 4 people in the theater.
yeah, I think they made a mistake, but it seemed like they gave an exclusive contract to some theater chain, and like it wasn't the most popular one. But
Whoops.
the funny thing for me was Sabrina saw it the next day and she goes, "Where did that guy go?" And I was like, "Oh, he's the one that got swallowed whole by the Quetzalcoatlus." But it was so quick. It was like he comes up and like the guy turns around and he's like half swallowed already.
Yeah.
It didn't do a big roar, you know, like in every other scene. It's always like, oh yeah, the animal has to roar before it attacks. This Quetzalcoatlus was just like,
Yeah.
oh, there you are, gulp.
Well, yeah, it notices them messing with its nest, and then it just quietly stalks him down and eats him.
Yep.
And then they all run away.
this was my one like behavior gripe with that scene is that it shows up, it's like, you're messing with my eggs, and then it like corners some of them. And so the reason it chases that guy is because he like throws like a hammer or a rock or something at it to like get its attention, and he hits it with the thing and it turns around and then chases after him. And that was I was in the movie and I went, no, now you've broken the animal a little bit, because the point of it being here is that it's guarding its nest.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it knows that there's still dangerous creatures in the nest threatening the eggs. That is like the one little place where you monsterified it for the sake of this movie scene, is you gave it that like what you always like to talk about is the stimulus response.
Yeah.
The robotic
target
response.
Acquired.
Yes, exactly.
The other thing I thought of in that scene, which this is one of those where like, this is a little bit of a nitpick, but it was more just I have this feeling of, in the last one we don't see Quetzalcoatlus on the ground. We see it, attacking the air. Here though, it's moving very much like a bat. It's like climbing a rock wall, when the research shows that they were flat ground walkers, that they are stilt walkers like a giraffe. And so that we still haven't gotten to see a big Ashdarkid pterosaur hunting the way they would. Like, I want to see a new grass scene where you're in a grassland and it's these stalking pterosaurs above, and you're having to keep your heads down, and then beaks are just coming down into the grass at you.
Right.
Like,
yeah, it's a real missed opportunity.
Yeah, it feels like you still haven't quite shifted away from, these aren't big bats. They're a different animal.
Yep.
They're not big birds, they're not big bats, they're pterosaurs, and pterosaurs are fundamentally different.
They're all pinky.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so like, that was one thing of like, the bat climbing looked cool. Like, that was cool looking. But that's not probably, I would not be surprised if we asked an expert. I bet they couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Like,
their fingers were pretty bad.
Yeah, exactly. Like, their feet, not grippy hands.
Yeah.
Maybe this one got mixed up with some bat DNA.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There's your record.
It's a vampire bat.
Well, its head also looked nothing like a Quetzalcoatlus.
It reminded me of a terror bird.
It had so much going on, because Quetzalcoatlus had this really long, really slender head. And this thing had all sorts of stuff going on all over the place. And yeah, obviously much bulkier, as is usually the case.
Yep. Which I had that thought as well, that it could be decoration, sort of stuff, of like soft tissue stuff that could be on a skull. But it definitely, I had that same thought of, I don't know the skull right off the top of my head. I don't think that's what it looks like.
Yeah, I had to double check. I was like, wait, what did it look like? And I looked it up and I was like, oh yeah, that's what I thought. Oops. But just to give Jurassic Park series a little credit, Jurassic Park 3, I feel like it wasn't Quetzalcoatlus, but they had like a pteranodon or something in that cage.
Yeah.
I feel like that one walked a little bit realistically, and it was like walking across a bridge even, and then like the bridge started to break. It might have even completely fallen away and it had to like fly back up.
Yeah, it emerges out of the fog.
Yeah.
That, I am on record being not a fan of Jurassic Park 3. But that scene when it walks across the bridge out of the fog is one of the coolest moments in the entire franchise.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think there might have been a pecking through like fence situation that happened a little there too.
Yeah. Well, and it was such a cool moment also, very much like what I would say I would want for Quetzalcoatlus is like, it was the first time in any movie where we'd seen a pterosaur walk like they should walk and come in, and like as a kid I remember having that moment of like, yeah, no, that's yeah.
Yeah. They did it.
They did it. They did the thing.
So we've got a bunch of dinosaurs. We've got a bunch of not dinosaurs. There's also Anurognathus, the little pterosaur, makes its debut appearance in the franchise, which is very cool. There's some weird amphibian thing that is crawling around.
A Temnospondyle or something.
Yeah.
I saw this with some friends, and one of my friends, because we were like, what was that supposed to be? They emailed Steve Brusati to ask and got a response. And Dr. Brusati said, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think what he said was, I'm not sure what they're calling it, but like some kind of amphibian thing.
Well, I had a fun moment when watching, because I was taking notes, because I watched it at home I rented it from YouTube, so I was able to go back and do stuff, but I was taking notes while I did it, and I saw the one sitting on the rock, and I went, oh, Temnospondyle on a rock? ? And then later on, we see one coming down at a tree, and I go, Temnospondyle in a tree?
You've heard of Elf on a Shelf.
It's just like, okay.
What are you doing there?
What are you doing up there, buddy?
It escaped from something that caught it, brought it to its nest,
Yes,
and running back down.
Man, Rock Temnospondyl's never going to believe this.
There's a whole subplot going on in the background of this amphibian having a crazy adventure where it keeps getting dropped out of the sky. There's a much more interesting movie happening in the background.
I would love that. And because we've talked about before, like the whole lives of the small mammals and all the other animals that are going on while dinosaurs lived, like, yeah, do the same with Jurassic Park.
Yes.
They need another Netflix series. That'll be the next one.
Yeah.
So we've got a bunch of dinosaurs. We've got a bunch of not dinosaurs. There are a couple other creatures to talk about, but I want to make sure if Sabrina or Garret, if there's anything else you wanted to comment on about the creatures.
The only ones I can think of are the mutants.
I mean, they were huge. We kind of already touched on it, but man, that Titanosaur was like... They said it was like 15 tons or something. They gave some number of tons, which was way less than like even a real Titanosaur. And then this thing was just so huge, absurdly huge.
They gave a weird size description for Quetzalcoatlus, which at one point he said a pterosaur the size of a bus. And like, I guess their wingspan could be as long as a bus, but that's a weird way to describe a pterosaur. I don't know.
That is very funny. I don't think I've ever heard a pterosaur compared to a non-flying vehicle.
Yeah, that was and like maybe it was supposed to just be a hyperbolic line of, you know, as big as a truck, you know, just it's big. I'm just saying it's big. But I was just like, that is a very non-pterosaur shaped thing to compare this thing to.
There's so many planes to choose from.
No, it's just like, you know, a snake the size of a dumpster. It's like, what? Right. It's like, that's not the same shape at all.
Yeah.
The only other thing I could think of, the Parasaurolophus, the only time we see a hadrosaur is it's dead, and I feel like that's a subtle commentary there.
Yeah, that's how popular hadrosaurs are. You get one and it's dead.
That was again, talking about bold choices. That's a bold use of Parasaurolophus.
Yeah, seriously, it's like when a movie kills off a big name actor in the beginning of their movie. It's like, okay, that's an interesting way to use that credit. That did remind me, though, speaking of a dead representative, another one that stood out to me as just them being like, look at this, was a Megalodon Jaws.
Yeah. Well, and there's also Dunkleosteus makes an appearance in the movie.
And both of those, I had that moment of, already we've been asking the question of, so, you know, which mosquitoes sucked on the mosasaur.
Right.
These don't have to come up for air. And that's like, those are also two wild different ends of the typical age spectrum for the things they're bringing back.
I was gonna say that
Yeah.
Dunkleosteus being there does imply that they have been able to extract ancient DNA from like 360 million years ago.
Yep.
Yeah,
Before mosquitoes.
Before
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
before mosquitoes.
and maybe even like before tree sap, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, before amber. There was no amber, and there were almost certainly no blood-feeding insects.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were definitely no blood-feeding insects because there were hardly any insects.
It was a blood-feeding trilobite that
Yeah,
got
exactly.
preserved.
It was a leech. It was like a lamprey, a conodont like a lamprey.
Yeah. Well, and it felt like the same thing that's classically happened with Dimetrodon of, this thing looks like a dinosaur, slap it into Land Before Time. It's like, no, that was way before T-Rex was even a thing. This feels like the same thing of, we're a bunch of this movie takes place on the ocean. Let's put in some fossil
Right.
ocean creatures.
Some dinosaur fish.
Yeah. And the two most famous ones are Megalodon and Dunkleosteus. Put them in the movie, and it's like, that has some implications.
Much like with the Spinosaurs in the water and the T-Rex swimming, you can track the influence of other popular media in this franchise. That like, yeah, now Megalodon's in the movie. Now Dunkleosteus is in the movie. You can follow where the Jurassic franchise has been going on for so long now. You can follow these cultural shifts.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And of course, the other thing. So we've been talking so far a lot about how the dinosaurs in many ways are not monsters in this movie in a lot of ways. And that is because this movie has some straight up genetically engineered dinosaur movie monsters. The mutants, which they have names, the Mutadon, which is like a winged velociraptor-y type thing.
Yep.
And the
Correct.
Distortus Rex, or the D-Rex, which is an abomination of a creature.
Yes.
Someone talk about
Someone else.
I had very mixed feelings while watching these creatures on screen, because as a paleontologist, I had the whole time just being like, oh, this is so ridiculous. But if either of these had shown up in some other movie, I'd be pretty much 100% on board.
They were pretty cool.
Rancor dinosaur and wyverns. Like, these were D&D style wyverns. I was like, it's only because you put them in the dinosaur movie that I have mixed feelings. If these just showed up in your Conan the Barbarian movie, I'd be so cool with it.
Yes. Well, one thing that's nice about them is they needed a villain, and in order to make a dinosaur a villain, you have to make it sort of unrealistic if you're doing like a horror movie style thing. So in one way, maybe we have these two horrible dinosaurs to thank for the other dinosaurs being, able to be more normal animals. So I guess that's a perk.
They were taking on all the monstrification, putting it on their shoulders.
Exactly.
I was kind of delighted by when watching the movie, because the dinosaurs and the other real animals are for the most part acting like animals, very much in the way that we've often praised the original Jurassic Park. That the dinosaurs are mostly not monsterification. In the original Jurassic Park, velociraptors aside, that is something that the franchise has kind of lost over time. This movie gave all of the cool animal traits to the dinosaurs and then had actual movie monsters to be the monstery, scary serial killer ones.
Yep.
Yeah, and the Mutadon, they kind of took on the role of the raptors in the previous films. They had basically the kitchen scene, but in the mini mart kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, and they did the same thing they did with them that they did with Spino in Jurassic Park 3 of, we will have it kill a raptor to let you know this is the new big bad.
Yes, this is Frieza is a problem,
Yes.
and this is how you know, because he just defeated the strongest guy you know. I love this is for a long time. We've talked about this on the previous 100 episodes where we've talked about Jurassic Park. The Velociraptors have always been kind of a sticking point for me in this franchise, because they, even in the original Jurassic Park, where the dinosaurs are almost completely acting very animalistic, very realistic, the raptors are murder monsters. Like, they are by far the most monstrous of the dinosaurs in the original movie. Yeah. By Jurassic Park 3, they were basically aliens, right? They were like having conversation. It was like they have always been this really, like, you've really movie monstered these creatures. And so the scene with the Velociraptors and the Mutodon, I have seen people complain about that. I thought that it was very funny. I thought that was hilarious. I really enjoyed it. But the fact that what Sabrina was just saying, that they put the Mutodon in here to do all the raptor stuff, which means that they've taken that away from the raptors, which it does mean there were no Velociraptors in the movie, basically, which is a shame. But I do like that they were like, no, the T-Rex gets to just be an animal and the Velociraptors get to just be an animal, because we've made these Hulk villains to be these monsters.
Yeah. And it's nice from a science communication standpoint, because with all the other movies, you get like, well, what would win in a fight, Spinosaurus or T-Rex? And it's like, they're not, no. But like with this one, you wouldn't ask that question, because you see like Spinosaurus is in the water, it's doing this thing, like you wouldn't even expect them to interact with each other. Whereas, we do also run into like young kids who are like, check out my Indominus Rex, it's my favorite dinosaur. And sometimes you say like, oh, that's not a real dinosaur, or you just say, oh, that's really cool, because they'll figure it out in like a year or two. But with a lot of the previous movies, it was these things that just sort of become part of pop culture knowledge about a dinosaur. Like Dilophosaurus has a frill and spits venom, and nobody knows that's not a real thing. Whereas in this movie, nobody's going away from it going like, oh, Mutodon is so cool, and Distortus Rex is like my favorite. It's like, those are obviously monsters.
Yeah, they make it very clear. It also, I liked them being obviously monsters from like a narrative standpoint, because it felt very more so than Indominus did, which was mostly a pretty normal dinosaur. This one had kind of the same narrative of like what we did with Africanized bees, of we created a problem. We messed with stuff and we created things that do not fit into the ecosystem. And that's why they're a problem, is because these shouldn't be here. They shouldn't be a thing.
Yeah, be.
And that, yes, yeah, should not be. And I like that from the narrative side of like, yeah, the dinosaurs aren't the problem. What we have done with some of them is very much a problem.
Yep. Very Michael Crichton-y too.
Yes, very much so.
Come to think of it, I don't think the mutants even interact with the dinosaurs outside of the Mutodons taking down the Velociraptors. Is this the first film in the franchise without a big dinosaur fight?
Yeah, that I saw one of my students was talking about that they noted that, and I went, you're right, there is no big fight.
Yeah, which has become kind of a staple of the franchise.
Yeah.
And which is this is, and I'm coming from a place that is different from I think a lot of people. This is a compliment coming from me. I think that the big dinosaur fight thing is bad. I think that is bad. I think that's a bad trend. That someone watched Jurassic Park and their favorite part was when the T-Rex fights the Velociraptors, and then that has influenced the entire franchise ever since then. And I'm like, no, that was the wrong part. Like, this movie didn't have that, and that is a really interesting direction.
Yeah, I think it and Lost World are the only two.
Yeah, Lost World I was also...
Which, if you're going to be compared to another one, I'm not complaining for you to be compared to Lost World. I like that one.
Yeah.
Any other comments about the animals in the film, which has been most of the discussion, because it is going to be most of the discussion, before we move on to a couple other notes?
I was just going to say, I like how we didn't have much to say about the D-Rex.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What are you gonna
I was
say?
gonna say the D-Rex was an interesting one because it was just kind of a straightforward monster. They throw out a couple of things like it's attracted to light, which
Sure. They do the
keep
flare thing.
yeah. Well, and the paleontologist throws that out as if it's a known like a thing he's observed about it, like T-Rex not being able to see motion of like why would it be attracted to light? But okay.
Sure.
But also it seemed interesting. The one thing I did like about it that I wasn't expecting, I was very much expecting it to be this psychopathic, malicious, masochistic monster sort of thing. They gave it a big old wobbly brain, and so I thought it was going to be some Machiavellian dinosaur, but it mostly didn't seem malicious. It mostly seemed curious and just very destructive in its curiosity and very murderous in its curiosity. But like
Yeah.
there's no moment where it goes roar, charge. It just is like, all right, what are you doing? I'm going to take you apart now. Like, what is this thing? It's the very much the like, well, it's like the videos of a great ape investigating something, and it's like you're not meaning to be cruel or destructive, but when you hold something and hold it with the other hand and pull apart, whatever you're holding comes apart.
Yeah.
It had kind of that vibe, and I found that intriguing.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was a very interesting animal. The number one thing I noticed, I thought it was supposed to be part sauropod, just seeing it in like the dark
Agreed.
scenery, because I was like, it's got these huge legs. But then seeing it later, because there are toys of it and stuff, so you can see like the full animal. I don't really get it. They say it's like a T-Rex with 6 legs or
4
6
legs.
limbs.
Yeah.
Which maybe it's part moth, and that's why it has more than 4 legs and it's drawn to light.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. It's Mothmanosaurus.
Listen, we solved it. That explains.
Okay.
That explains its attraction to light. It explains its destructive tendencies. It's just a big Mothosaurus.
Yeah.
All right. Well, most of the science that there is to discuss in this film is the creatures themselves, but there are also scientists, which again has not always been a consistent thing in the franchise. This movie there are some unnamed scientists at the beginning of the movie who run an extremely unsafe laboratory.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And there is the pharmaceutical guy who is sort of science adjacent, who's also the bad dude. And there is a paleontologist, which does make this, again, sort of a return to form, because the original trilogy always had paleontologists, but the Jurassic World films have not always had them. Dr. Henry Loomis, who works at a museum, who is a paleontologist, who's excited about the dinosaurs, who is played by Jonathan Bailey, who is this movie's, I don't know that when they make the movies, they're thinking this is going to be our paleo rep in the film, but that is effectively what you're doing, is you are saying this is a paleontologist. So how do we feel? I know how I feel, but I'll turn it over to our guests first. How do we feel about Dr. Loomis as a scientist?
I think overall he was good, and he talked about things that I hadn't seen or hadn't heard in previous movies, like how I have one line that I like to quote when he says like Earth can shake us off like a summer cold when it tires of us, and it's like Earth will be fine no matter what we do to it. Humans might not be, and that's something like a discussion that I don't think has really come up before in these movies.
Yeah. For me personally, I think he was the most realistic paleontologist that I've seen in the movies. I really liked Alan Grant and Ellie in the original, but they seemed like they had like all the like positive traits and everything, and they sort of put all the skepticism into Jeff Goldblum. No, I can't even remember his
Ian
name.
Malcolm.
Ian Malcolm.
Yeah, sure.
And so they like the science piece was sort of like separated between the two of them, whereas he was sort of like the whole package in this one, and he said things that like I wouldn't be surprised to hear a real paleontologist say. He didn't really seem too much like a movie trope of a scientist. And I really liked, because most of these movies the scientists are sort of the villains. And we sort of had that with the pharmaceutical guy, but he was almost more like a capitalist enemy character,
Yes.
not really too
I wouldn't really
sciencey.
call him a scientist.
Yeah.
More of a CEO.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. So it was nice because Henry Loomis was like purely interested in the paleontology of it and just seemed like a good sort of
And
guy.
wanting science to be open to everyone.
Yeah, it was very
Yeah.
much like a pro science vibe that I don't think was in any of the previous 6 movies, which I really liked. And he was sort of like the one bringing a voice to that.
He wanted to be fossilized.
Yeah, oh, that was the
Yeah,
best.
yeah.
That was my all-time favorite. When they asked how do you want to die, and he said like I want to die on like a lake bed and be quickly buried by silt. I immediately knew why.
Me
I was
too.
like, yes,
Yes.
that is perfect. And I realized like nobody else watching the movie like, knew what he was talking about until the guy goes like, oh, that's really beautiful. And I was like, wait, he's talking about getting fossilized. And then he explains it. I'm like, oh, that's perfect. That's gold.
I think you make a really good point. I think he is the first character in the franchise that feels like, okay, the director talked to paleontologists.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
met, because I know people who have things in common with Dr. Grant and with Dr. Sattler, and there are, like Ellie Sattler, I think, is one of the best scientists
Yes.
representations in film ever. Dr. Loomis, I think, feels more than maybe any other Jurassic franchise scientist like someone I know.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
I have heard those exact kind of statements that this person just kind of a dork in the way that actual paleontologists are dorks, especially our age, because that's another thing about him is that he is sort of the age of all of us, right? He's kind of
Yep.
this is a paleontologist who became a paleontologist because he saw Jurassic Park.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, and it's like he definitely has some of those like movie scientist tropes of like being he's overly naive in many moments
Sure.
when he's talking with other characters
He's
and
idealistic.
idealistic in that sort of portrayal. I always note that when a scientist character does that because it's like are you just a naive person or is this saying that scientists are naive? But I like that he does seem like a person in many
Mhm.
regards, which you're a paleontologist but you're also just a guy
Mhm.
and you're a nerdy dorky guy because you're a scientist.
Yeah. He does, as we discussed, walk directly up to wildlife and put his hands on
Yep.
them. Which don't do that. This is a
Nope.
PSA. That this that's, and you know what? He seems like he's a lab kind of guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, right,
Yes.
he does it. Although, and actually, this is something I wanted to circle back to because I think that maybe Sabrina, one of you esteemed guests, said this earlier that the characters in this movie react with awe to
Yeah.
the creatures, and I think that Dr. Grant did this in the original Jurassic Park, where he spends the whole movie geeking out about the dinosaurs, where
Mhm.
he's like
Yeah.
Brachiosaurus and he falls down and they see Triceratops and he's just like, oh, it was my favorite when I was a kid. And he's doing that the whole movie, and it really helps emphasize that awesomeness, right? The fact that we are supposed to find these animals beautiful and fascinating. Dr. Loomis is doing that in this movie,
Yes.
right? He looks at the mosasaur and he's like, holy cow, look, the mosasaur, how cool is that? And he's fallen in love with these titanosaurs. And I thought that was really that one of the best things you can do with a scientist in a movie is have them express their passion for this topic. And I think that he does
pure
that,
joy.
and it's really great.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
One other moment with him that I found that, and it's one of those where in the movie they're definitely portraying it that this isn't an issue, but it would have been, is they go to get the DNA from the egg instead of the adult Quetzalcoatlus. And earlier in the film, when he finds out that one of the guys has neurotoxic darts to keep the dinosaurs away, he's like, are you going to tell me it's immoral to kill a dinosaur? And he goes, no, I would say it's a sin to kill a dinosaur. Then stabs egg with needle.
Oh, yes.
And like they say in it of like, if I'm careful, I won't penetrate the embryonic membrane. And like two things, if you don't penetrate the membrane, then I don't think you're getting DNA.
Yep.
Yes.
I think you're probably not going to get a lot of DNA or you're not getting any blood at least. So the blood samples you've been getting aren't going to work. B, if you poke a hole in an egg and don't do something about it, that baby dies.
Mhm.
You said that ever since I saw this movie, I've been like, there was something in the movie that struck me as a perfect nitpick mini rant thing. That's what it was. It was him going, if I do this right, I won't hurt the egg. It was like, there is absolutely no way. No, the whole point of an amniotic egg is that it doesn't have holes in it. That is that is the function of it. Is that it is, you keep the outside out.
Yeah.
Yes, that was it. That was my mini rant that could have been.
Also, the act of stabbing a huge, like, basically ice pick into an egg and not cracking it. Like, you can't stab a blunt thing like that into an egg. It will break apart. That's like the whole thing about how eggs work. When something pokes through it, they break. If they brought a drill, maybe, but no.
Egg science in this movie. C-.
Egg science.
I have moments like that with movies all the time where they'll do something. I'll go, no, that's not how you would have had to sit there with the needle and gone and like slowly drilled through the shell. Like, you could do it, I could do it, but that's not the way you did it.
You Pulp Fictioned that egg.
Yeah,
it's not the way that it works.
Screams. My other complaint about him, which isn't enough to be a mini rant, but is definitely a mini rant. Who chews Altoids?
Oh yes, that was strange.
That would be a red flag for me if I went on a date with this guy and he just chewed some out. And someone out there is like, I chew Altoids. I'm not judging you. I have just never seen an Altoid chewed once in my life.
Especially like 5 in a row.
Yeah.
I fully buy that honestly makes him feel even more like a real person to me, because it's like, yeah, you're a scientist, you're a dork, you're a nerd, and you do this one absolutely bizarre thing. Why are you like this?
Well, it's like that one video of the kid being like eating Jolly Ranchers and just crunches into it, and every reaction ever to that video is, what are your teeth made out of?
All right. There are some broader science topics. We've already touched on a bunch of these. There is the question of the dinosaur distribution, where they talk about where the creatures are able to survive, and they only survive at the equator, which feels like it's a very short and simple addressing of a topic that has kind of been hanging in the background of this entire franchise that has never really gotten brought up, is the ability of these animals to survive in modern environments.
Well, and they mentioned that like part of the reason they've gone extinct elsewhere is both also disease and stuff, and that this is they've been relegated only to the ideal area of the equator
where all the diseases are.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
They also mentioned a couple of times that it's because of the higher oxygen at the equator, and I had to look it up because I'm like, is there notable oxygen difference? And everything I found said no. There's oxygen's pretty much the same around. So like,
our atmosphere is well mixed.
Yes,
sure. I guess like if you're in the rainforest, you're gonna get like getting it from the source.
Yeah, you're just huffing plants.
Yes. Just a sauropod with its mouth around the top of a tree. Speaking of disease, there's also, we mentioned that there's a pharmaceutical angle here. The idea that you are collecting this material so that you can make pharmaceutical things out of it, which is absolutely a real thing that happens in the real world. It was a cool angle, because basically all the rest of the franchise is, why did we bring dinosaurs back? For entertainment or for war? Yes. And I liked them addressing that, like, no, but if you brought back these creatures, they would have other benefits and applications to them.
Yeah, it's a little bit like with
Colossal.
Oh, I was going to say Jack Horner and his Chickenosaurus. One of the things that he says is, if we can figure out how to put a tail on a chicken, maybe that research will help us with other sorts of spinal issues that humans have, like learning how the genes affect spine growth and things like that, which is like, oh yeah, could. I don't know. More likely than having a war machine out of a sack of meat and bones.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like all the things that have come from like the mission to the moon, where like tons, especially at the time when those missions were happening, a bunch of people were like, why are we going to the moon again? I don't actually know why we need to go to the moon. But like Velcro was invented and a whole bunch of other things that now are universally used in our society.
Yeah.
So that was a cool tidbit.
And then the other big science topic that is brought up in this movie is genetic experimentation, which feels like a weird thing to call out in a Jurassic Park film because that's always been there. But this is the first time that they've really gone and we're like, no, we made Frankenstein monsters. Like we have stitched together to create these monstrous creatures, which I think it's really interesting that this movie comes down hard on that was bad. You definitely should not have done that.
Yes.
Because it makes sense for a movie because it's an action, right? Those are the monsters. That's how it is one of the most classic tropes of how you get a movie monster is science gone wrong and we were putting pieces together and we shouldn't have been doing it.
And we succeeded.
Yes, but in the context of the modern world where there are a lot of genetic experiments and things going on, it is on the one hand, this kind of portrayal can be dangerous, right? Because GMOs are a real thing that is extraordinarily beneficial and extreme. Like tons of stuff is genetically modified. But then at the same time, this movie came out like a couple months after Colossal's Direwolves announcement, which is much more in line with blockbuster movie genetic tinkering kind of stuff. So it's interesting that I don't think that this movie is making a very nuanced or deep statement about genetic engineering, but there is an angle that it has fallen on.
There's a big opportunity there actually to sort of come out with a pro GMO message, because you've got, on the one hand, basically people have been genetically modifying plants for as long as we've been eating plants, or at least in civilization. And you have two main ways of doing it. You have the modern way, the genetically modified organisms, where you're taking specific genes and very precisely changing plants. And then you've got the throw radiation at it, mutate it somehow, and just see what the hell comes out of it, which is like the Distortus Rex of it. Because there's no way they went like, oh, we're going to make this. Let's add the gene for 2 extra limbs and a huge weird head. And like, that's clearly, the result of some imprecise modification. So it would have been kind of cool. I didn't think about it till just now when you were describing it, if they took that tact of like, oh no, they were doing it the wrong way. They were just, like mutating these things however they could just to see what came out. Not like real scientists do today, where they're being specific about their modifications.
Well, another thought I had kind of along those lines is in the lab, we see a lot of, the classic clone tanks that all sci-fi movies use, the Acme clone tanks that have a whole bunch of malformed mutations, that like 2-headed mutodons. And I on the wiki, they also note that like a 2-headed triceratops of some sort and sauropod are seen in some of the vials. And the fact that they showed malforms of some of the mutants we got also, to me, was like, you messed it up a bunch of times. Like they wanted to make the mutodon real bad, and they messed it up a bunch of times until finally they got 2 that worked.
And they were like, this is good. This is what we
there
wanted.
We go. Finally. Oh.
We got the Distortus right. We got the 6 limbs and the big weird head. Perfect. Stop. Stop there.
For D-Rex, I read it was like the 20-something attempt.
And then they nailed it.
Yeah. And it does bring up the like, was this because they mention it, that it's like supposed to be continuations of what they did with the Indominus Rex, of we needed new attractions, so they just started smushing things together. And it feels like it is both doing, like what you said, David, kind of a double-edged thing here of, on one hand, the way what they're doing in this movie is horrific and irresponsible and immoral, but it also does feel like it feeds a little bit into, and this is the kind of stuff scientists are getting up to in their labs.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it has sort of that return to, if one of my biggest gripes about the original Jurassic Park is that for all of the cool science forward stuff that they put in the movie, and for the fact that there are these incredible scientist characters, the big takeaways from that movie include science is bad. Why are you doing this? Just leave everything alone. Like it's all Ian Malcolm stuff.
Yep.
Which is very anti-science in a lot of ways.
Yeah. That there are some things we just aren't meant to science. Period.
Yep. And that's, to me, I didn't realize this reading Jurassic Park when I was a wee lad, but Michael Crichton was sort of an anti-science guy. That was a pretty big through point of all. Science was almost always the enemy in his books, which is so weird because he actually knew the science pretty well, and he would go deep into it because, you know, like Jurassic Park was a pretty good state of the science of dinosaur research. But at the same time, like you said, science bad was the main message that was there. And he was sort of like, if his voice was any character, it was Ian Malcolm for sure in the first book.
Yes. Absolutely. And I think I've heard him talk about that, like, Ian Malcolm is, you know, I don't want to say that it's his insert character, but like that is the closest to the author insert that you get. Michael Crichton was a very vocal climate science denier.
Yeah. That was his last book.
His last book was about how so like there is this through line of his work of fascination with science and distrust of scientists, distrust of institutions using this scientific information, which is a really interesting theme,
especially considering it like inspired all these scientists to go into paleontology and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that's one thing I like about this movie is it seemed the least anti-science. Like they did still have that little grain of like, oh, look at these creepy scientists doing this weird stuff in labs, but it seemed like that was really not the point of the movie, which was kind of nice.
Well, and the one like saving grace to many of the films, but definitely the Jurassic World films, is that these, you know, unlike, you know, like science movies from the 50s to where it's like this scientist in his lab just couldn't leave well enough alone and created, you know, the plague or the monster or, you know, the irradiated whatever. In these, it definitely, you know, has a lot of the distrust of scientists, but there is the through line of corporate scientists. Like here, our hero is the museum paleontologist, now having to deal with the mistakes of the corporate lab that created these monsters, and that it's like, science for profit is where things often go awry. And that I think if it leaned a little more into that, it would be a much a stronger pro science.
Yeah, we've talked throughout this discussion about following, you know, feeling the cultural vibe influencing the film. And I think the fact that the human villain in this movie is a pharmaceutical CEO type person feels very of the time.
Yeah.
Like that absolutely is like, this is a message that's going to connect with people.
Yeah, and even explicitly saying like all the money we could make versus all the people we could help, and like the dichotomy of those.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any other comments on the science in this movie before we mini rant?
I have one extra one, which is kind of a two-parter. When we go to the museum, we get like a little animation showing like, here's the current state of the dinosaurs, which I like that they have the animated info video. I like when we get to see the SciComm in these worlds of how people are being taught. But also in that video, they call it the Neo-Jurassic period.
Wait, you didn't read that paper?
That's right.
Yeah. They've been referring to this new age of dinosaurs as the Neo-Jurassic, evidently, in this universe.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yep.
I have a lot of feelings about that.
Yeah, and it's in the museum, so this isn't like the radio using a catchy museum,
and this is
dinosaur
like the
exhibit.
AMNH. I think this is supposed to be like the Manhattan Natural History Museum.
Yeah.
That's funny. Obviously, if it's going to be Neo anything, it should be Neo-Cretaceous. Not only because that's the last of the Mesozoic, but that's because all of the dinosaurs, the three animals, the quote unquote dinosaurs, are all Cretaceous. But Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
Cretaceous Park.
Yeah. I guess in
Yes,
this
this is-
world, it's not the Anthropocene. We're just going with Neo-Jurassic.
The Dino
Yeah,
scene.
yeah.
It's the Critoniferous.
It's
Craniferous.
the suggestion that they made that they designated the beginning of a new geologic age based on the reintroduction of extinct animals is a real, which, like, on one hand, yeah, if you were to look at the fossil record of this world in the far future, you would have this time of dinosaur fossils, lack of dinosaur fossils, and then a return of dinosaur fossils.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, very likely it would be designated as a new geologic age. Just real weird to do it 30 years after.
Yes.
I like how, Will, as you're explaining it, you and David both did the exact same hand gesture at the same time.
Come on. I think that's what that one meant.
Yeah.
One person.
We are one mind. Talking about the science of movies is so much fun, especially doing it with other scientists and science enthusiasts. As I mentioned at the top of the episode, the point of Silver Screen Science is not to just nitpick what things were right and what things were wrong, but to talk about the broader subjects. However, nitpicking what things were right and wrong is extremely fun. So, at the end of every Silver Screen Science episode, we like to give ourselves just a couple minutes each to do a little mini rant where we get to pick one thing that just really bugged us and go off on it. Since we have guests, we will have lots of mini rants.
This time with twice the mini rants.
Let's start. Sabrina, would you like to start with your mini rant?
Sure. So, being the sauropod fan that I am, the
Mhm.
Titanosaurus tail really stuck out
Yes.
to me. And I found it so
Yes.
distracting and weird and floaty. And, well, okay, aside from the weird floatiness, it's supposed to be a titanosaur. Why was the tail whip-like? Like a diplodocus
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
diplodocid?
Yep. Yeah. No,
Yep.
that also jumped out to me. The what you said, the floatiness. They had no weight.
Yeah. It
And they had no ligaments or anything
was
either.
like snake-like, right? It was kind of
Yeah. Just
I walked out of the film, and one of my friends that I saw it with was like, "Those tails seemed like they were really like that was a lot of movement in those tails."
Mhm.
And I said, "Yes, I agree, but it was really pretty."
Yeah.
They were
it was.
Yep.
like the way they were moving was so like aesthetically. I was watching it, and I was like, "This makes no sense," but like it looks really nice. It looks like those sauropods are having a nice time together.
Yeah.
They were.
They were dancing.
Yeah.
They were tail
Well, it's
dancing.
it's very Disney in like
Mhm.
there's a part where, and I don't remember if this happens, but like the tails almost make a heart shape
Yeah.
like
Yes,
over
yeah.
the head in a very Disney where it's like, yes, these two animals are in love and the tails are going to like curl around and make a little heart over them, and then we're going to fade to the next scene. It felt very much like that.
Well, the whole thing reminded me of what's that? There's the statues in China of the two sauropods that make kind of a heart because it looks like
Yeah.
they're
Oh, yeah.
caressing.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, the kissing dinosaurs. It's over in, like an archway over a highway kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I did like it. I did think it was pretty. If I wasn't such a big, if sauropods weren't my favorite dinosaurs, I think I would have appreciated it more.
Well, I felt very similar to what I said about the mutants. Like, if that tail thing was happening in an Avatar, the on Pandora with two creatures from that world, I would have been like, "That's awesome! Yeah, these crazy aliens on this low gravity world have floaty courtship tails. That's great." It was very distracting to me when they were like encircling each other with their tails, and it's just like, what's keeping that up? Where are the strings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was super weird. It did seem like it reminded me a little bit of like early CGI where it was like they didn't consider gravity when they did this. Like it's that
Yes.
floaty walking, and it was just like, oh, the tail is moving and it's interesting and you can see how big it is, and that's cool. But we're skipping over any of the realistic information we might need.
Yeah. Yes.
They hadn't invented the CGI where they have like the skeleton inside yet to sort of like give
Right.
it
Yeah, exactly.
physics.
It's a bit too rubbery, a bit too weightless.
Yeah.
Garrett, what is your mini rant for Jurassic World Rebirth?
So mine is also on Titanosaurus because apparently I also love sauropods.
You do now.
But
10 years wearing you down.
Yes.
But also, there's only 2 seconds of Ankylosaurus, and there's not really anything to rant about with Ankylosaurus. So I think, I mean, we mentioned it when we were talking about it, but the Titanosaurus, and it hurts me every time I say Titanosaurus, but it was too big, obviously. It was annoying to me how big it was, especially since they were laying down in the grass and you couldn't see that. They walked out into this field and
Yeah,
they were like, oh,
right?
it's an empty field. And then they stand up and it's like, oh, there is this thing whose body is 30 feet tall, not even including the legs, right next to me. How that wasn't sticking up out of the grass is another question. But my real issue is just the fact that they called it Titanosaurus. And they did it in the beginning, and then fortunately most of the rest of the movie they were referring to it as a titanosaur, and I almost wonder if it was like a typo in the script or something where it was like Steve Brusatte giving the consulting notes was like, we should have titanosaurs, and somebody saw titanosaurs and was like, oh, they forgot the U, and like put the U in. So the first time he says
my phone does that autocorrect.
Yeah.
If I write
Yes, exactly.
Tyrannosaurs, it corrects it to Tyrannosaurus, and I'm like, no, that's not what I was talking about.
No, you dope.
Yeah. Or like it might also be the only time they refer to it in the singular, and maybe that's the problem, because it was like, oh, we've got the Titanosaurs. Well, what's the singular of Titanosaurus? Oh, it must be Titanosaurus, since that's how it works with so many of the other dinosaurs. So that's my guess, but Titanosaurus is not a valid genus at this point, which is a shame because it is a cool name for a dinosaur, and it's the first sauropod from India and all sorts of cool stuff. But yeah, it's just like really fragmentary, and I don't even know if we have the bones anymore from the original holotype, but if we do, they're so poorly preserved that it's just like all you can say is like, yeah, that's a titanosaur. At the time, in what was it, 1871, you look at it, you're like, this is new. We've never seen anything like this before. We got to name a new genus. But then you flash forward through hundreds more titanosaur discoveries, and it's no longer at all unique, unfortunately. Plus, so many good titanosaurs they could have picked that have been named even just since the last movie. Like they did Dreadnoughtus was that in Dominion?
Yeah.
So they could have just picked like another one, or done like a Margosaurus, which they've never done, or like so many.
Well, and others that would have been good names for, like Patagotitan.
Yeah.
Like is a good movie name. Like that's a fun. That's not hard to say. It's not cumbersome, and it sounds awesome.
Yeah, and you can go see it in a museum afterwards. People see this and they're like, I want to see Titanosaurus. It's like, too bad.
So do we. Yeah, we'd love to.
Yeah. It is an interesting, because like so often famously it's like, there's the Tyrannosaurs. Tyrannosaurus is the famous one. There's the Ceratopsian. Triceratops is the famous, and like very often when we have a group, the Spinosaurus, every now and then you get it though where it's like, yep, the one it was named after has turned out to not be that it has not stuck since then.
Yep.
It has been reworked, or we have found much better specimens, and so like it is this is one of those rare moments where it's like, yeah, the famous name is not actually a representative name anymore.
Yeah. There is also Ceratops. The Ceratopsians are named after, which isn't really it's the same story as Titanosaurus, but at least there's something close with Triceratops that people know.
Yes.
Whereas
exactly.
It's a shame.
Will, what rant do you bring today?
Mine goes back to the Dunkleosteus that we mentioned, which is already, we mentioned how ridiculous it is that it's in the movie. The way it's shown in the movie is as a severed head that is dropped onto the deck of a fishing boat that our protagonist pass by while they're going to their boat captain, and it is revealed because they pull in a net full of fish and they undo the net onto the deck, and perfectly hidden among these normal sized fish is the giant 700-pound head of a Dunkleosteus, which raises so many questions for me of, is it suggesting that they decapitated a Dunkleosteus with a fishing net? Did they decapitate
one of those plastic things that hold soda cans together?
Yep.
Get one of those around. That's why you gotta recycle.
The sauropod-sized soda cans.
Well, that's what they're feeding Billy with. They
There
have
we
to
go.
bring
Yes.
Billy his food,
Yep.
and it's in these giant cans, and then they throw them in the East River, and that's how you get
And, like,
severed Dunkleosteus heads.
The only other explanation I can think of is that the implication's supposed to be like that was the chum, that was the bait used to draw in what they caught, which is as ridiculous as when they used a great white to feed the mosasaur in Jurassic World.
Yes.
Like, if you can get a Dunkleosteus, just eat the Dunkleosteus. What are you doing? I had so many questions when a already dead Dunkleosteus showed up in that way.
I'm glad you brought it up because I totally forgot that there was a Dunkleosteus.
I feel like it was, for me, like the hiding in plain sight. Like I saw it and it was so absurd that my brain didn't even compute
Yeah.
that it was there.
But could it be that something like the mosasaur somehow ate the whole body and then the head just got mixed up?
Like a ceratopsian.
Yeah, is that, like, if maybe it's a dragnet and they scooped it up off the bottom is supposed to be it, but it just and of all the things to decapitate, a Dunkleosteus with bony armored skull.
Now, I will say, the apartment that I am currently in is home to a cat, and that cat gets treats that are like little sardines,
Yeah.
and he refuses to eat the heads.
All
He
right.
will he'll chew the whole thing up, and he'll eat the whole thing, and then he'll spit out the head. So maybe the mosasaur gobbled up a Dunkleosteus, but then spits out the head.
Which, if you're gonna spit a part of it out, the head.
Yeah, that's the part.
That's the part you wouldn't.
The part
eat.
with the armor on it.
Yeah. So, like, that is a bit more fair. All right.
Also, there's eyeballs in it, and that's gross.
I thought the eyeballs were, some of the tastier parts.
Yeah,
That's the part you're
Maybe.
supposed to eat if you're stuck in the ocean, because it has the juices inside can give you fresh water.
Oh.
Good to know.
Hot tip.
Go for the Dunkleosteus
Yeah.
eyes.
Yep.
Go for the eyes. Well, those are a whole bunch of great mini rants, and I have been sitting here the entire discussion trying to settle on what my mini rant is going to be, and I have decided to give up completely, and instead I'm going to relate the thing that Nora complained to me about when we walked out of the movie. We walked out of the film, and Nora said, here's a complaint that I have. There's a scene early in the movie where they're on the boat and they're heading towards the island, and it's nighttime, and Scarlett Johansson is sitting out by herself, and then Jonathan Bailey comes out and he's like, can't sleep? I can't sleep either. And he goes and he sits down next to her. And Nora said, that guy is wearing all of his clothes. He's got a vest, he's got his belt, and everything. He didn't even try to sleep. That guy's a liar.
He's just been looking for where she is on the boat.
So, yes, he just wants to go hang out with Scarlett Johansson.
He's been opening doors and going, can't sleep. Oh, can't sleep. Oh.
Her creep radar is very good.
Yes, yep.
It is. That's absolutely. She was like, I can't trust this guy. I wouldn't be alone with this guy. And I was like, listen, Black Widow's got it. Don't worry. She can handle herself. Sabrina and Garret.
Sun's getting real low.
Sabrina and Garret, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a ton of fun to review this movie with you joining us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you.
This is great.
Listeners, if you want to hear more of me and Will talking about movies and stuff, we have done a ton of previous Silver Screen Science episodes, including every other Jurassic Park film. It is just our voices. So if you would rather hear Sabrina and Garret talk about stuff, go check out I Know Dino. And if you are interested in hearing more from the four of us talking not about science, but just about our feelings about the movie itself, which sometimes is a very different vibe from the science discussion, we're going to record more thoughts where we're just going to talk about cinema and film experience. And we will be releasing that on Patreon. It'll come out on on the Common Descent Patreon, as well as on the I Know Dino Patreon. And if that turns out to not be true, you let us know and we'll cut it out of the edit. So we're going to record that. Thank you for listening. Join us next time. And one more time, thank you again to our lovely guests.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Common Descent podcast. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and check our WordPress blog for pictures and links after each episode. Huge thanks to our patrons whose support helps keep this podcast running and who get access to bonus goodies on Patreon. The song you're hearing is called On the Origin of Species by Protodome, which we found at ocremix.org. Thanks again for listening. We hope you'll join us next time.